I, 31 female, have lived outside of the home since I was 18. I left uni with a mid-size amount of debt, but I've managed to pay it off and also save 8,000 euros over the past 10 years. I've scrimped and saved to get to this point. My parents are good people, and I love them, but they've made some terrible financial decisions over the years. When my grandmother died, her house was sold, and my parents received about 90K. They treated my brother and me to a fantastic Christmas and a lovely holiday. They also renovated parts of our family home. After all this, they still had about 50K left behind, and by their own admission, frittered away the remaining money rather than saving it. By the time I started uni 2 years later, I was told that I'd need to take out student loans to pay for my fees. 8 years ago, they told us that they were going to sell the family home and downsize to a flat. They managed to sell the house quickly and received about 250K, but there was nothing on the property market that they liked, so they decided to rent for a while until they found something they did. Within 3 years, all of that money was gone. Again, frittered away with nothing to show for it. Now they're in their 60s and renting for the foreseeable future with only a small pension each. My dad will be forced to retire next year, and they can't afford their current rent without his salary. They've repeatedly asked me for loans to tide them over until payday. They do always repay the loans to me, but I've started feeling resentful of giving them money at all. My partner and I are trying to buy a flat, and all of my friends who currently own property have received help from their parents with a deposit. Not only can my parents not help me with this, they actively borrow money from my savings regularly. Earlier this week, we had a family meal for my dad's birthday. My parents asked my partner and me about our property situation and asked if we would consider buying a 2-bedroom flat so they could move in with us and not worry about rent. I laughed at first, thinking that they were joking, but then I realized that they were serious. I told them that we wouldn't be doing that, as A, we couldn't afford a 2-bedroom flat, and B, even if we could, it's not my responsibility to house them. My dad argued that he and my mom have provided for me over the years, and now it's my turn to repay them. I told them that I'd been virtually on my own since turning 18, and that I shouldn't have to foot the bill just because they made poor financial decisions over the years. I said that I resent that they could have helped me with uni, and maybe even a flat deposit, but instead, they spent their way into a life of living hand to mouth. This did not go down well. Both of them erupted at me and called me ungrateful. My brother told me that I was entitled. Even my partner said that I was overly harsh. Am I the idiot? Edit. My dad works in a relatively physical job, and he's struggled to keep up with it in recent years. They can't force him to retire, but they can take away his duties and responsibilities until he does. My brother is unfortunately similar to my parents. If he has money in his pocket, he's out looking to spend it. As a result, he lives payday to payday. Your language was harsh, but your parents misspent at least £340,000, and 250K of that was gone in 3 years? Wow! They should have been able to cover their own rent and expenses without needing to dip into that house money. And now they expect to live for free off of you for the next 30 or so years? No. Stop lending them money immediately. Your parents need to learn to live within their, albeit limited, means. You are not the idiot. Bit ridiculous of your dad to claim he's provided for you when they've constantly needed to ask you for loans, even when they've promptly been paid back. OP, people find a way to figure things out. The problem is that the big chunks of money they received and your continued support have just enabled their bad behavior with money. My wife's mom has asked us for loans in the past, and our answer has always been no, every time she figures it out without us. I can't imagine passing away that kind of money and having nothing to show for it. Family is family, but it's not your job to look after them, as they suggest. Has your mom ever worked? They both need to get jobs, Buckle down and learn to spend within their means. If your brother keeps complaining about how entitled you are, ask him to give him a home for the rest of their lives, or quit complaining. You need to go no contact with your financial situation with your parents and brother. Your parents and sibling don't need to know how much you make, how much money you've saved, or even where you live. They're moochers. They will always mooch off the person with the most. Always. Dead relatives, living children, everyone. It would help if you put a firm no discussion financial and economic boundary. Good luck. My husband, 32, and I, 30, have 3 kids: female kindergartner, male toddler, female infant. My husband has a twin sister, Lucy, that practically lives with us. We don't have custody of her right now, we're working on it, but we have her for up to 2 weeks at a time. She'll go home for a couple of days, then come back for 2 more weeks. She has a room at our house, and I consider her to be one of my kids. She's the sweetest kid. She never argues, never gets in trouble, absolutely no behavioral issues. She's shy and stays close to us when we're around unfamiliar people. My family's been asking us to visit since we had my youngest, but they don't want my Lucy there. I didn't want to start any problems, so I've been saying not now for the past 3 months, but they were really pushing it the other day. So I finally told them that we won't be visiting until Lucy is invited and made to feel welcome. I'm not going to deal with BS like my bio kids getting presents and not Lucy, or her sleeping on the couch when everyone else gets a bed. They want us to compromise and send her to a sleepaway camp so she'll have fun and they don't have to host her. But I refuse. It's all or none. They're saying I'm a bad mom to my bio kids for taking away their grandparents because they won't accept a kid that's not ours as their grandchild. I'm starting to second guess myself and wonder if I am wrong for not letting my kids see my family because they don't accept Lucy. Edit. They say she's not legally or biologically our kid, so they don't need to have anything to do with her. Once we get custody, it'll be that she's not our biological daughter. We had that problem at Christmas, like no presents for her. She is a different race from our family, but you wouldn't be able to tell. Not the idiot. I wish I had you in my corner if I were that child. What concerns me is that you even have to go there. Your parents and family should automatically treat anyone you consider a family with respect and as family. Good for you to stand your ground. I cannot imagine even having that process to exclude the kid. What the heck is wrong with people? What if your husband had an adult sister? They wouldn't let her come to Christmas? Your husband isn't your family biologically. Would they treat him poorly because of that? Seriously, what's wrong with these people? That suggestion that you pack Lucy to camp is just offensive. At its core, this is about common decency anyway. I can't fathom excluding a child like that. It's just mean-spirited. Anyone who thinks a piece of paper is what makes a family doesn't need to be around yours. Your parents are being completely unreasonable. It's them who are taking themselves away from your kids. They're full-on bullying a kid, and that speaks volumes. You'd only be the idiot if you gave in. Teach your kids that you get to make your family and don't have to deal with toxic idiots. You sound like a great mom, the kind of parent who believes that love is not a limited resource. Trust yourself and keep on loving those kids. Stay strong, Mama Bear. I'm a 25-year-old female, and my husband is 25 as well. I'm a fairly new mom to twin boys. They're beautiful, and they're my everything. But I've needed a bit of a break to catch up with my mom, who lives out of state. I was set to leave with my younger sister, helping me pack and drive. My husband agreed that he was happy to look after the babies, and that I should have a good time there. We agreed that I'd stay over the weekend. I'm enjoying catching up. Things are going well, when I get a text from my husband, saying he's thinking of getting a sitter. I'm a new mom, like I said. I really don't want my boys to have a sitter so soon. It might be silly, but I'm sticking to my guns. So I called my husband and told him, we're not having a stranger look after our kids. It's only 2 days, and it's not like he has to work. He told me his head hurts so bad. Well, yeah, mine does too, after enough wiping diapers and listening to them scream. But you don't see me complaining. We argued for a bit, but I think I got my point across, and he relented. I had a great time at my mom's, and when I got home, everything was fine. Baby sleeping peacefully, house looking beautiful. Told you so. Ran to my hubs and gave him a big kiss, but he was in a funk. His head was killing him, he wanted to sleep. He told me it was so frustrating that I didn't let him get a sitter or a nanny to help him. The way I look at it, I just gave him a really nice reality check into what it's like being a mother. I love my job, but it's not easy. I don't think I was the idiot for leaving him with the babies. He did a good job. It's just not easy, no matter how you look at it. But he's been moody and thinks I showed my selfish side. Now currently lying down in a dark room, covering his ears, LOL. So am I the idiot for making my husband look after our kids while I visited my mom? Edit. He does have a migraine from time to time. Not the idiot. I don't interpret your "told you so" as malicious. Moms are usually the default parent and don't get any days off. Based on your wording, I'm assuming you're a stay-at-home mom. He wasn't watching y'all's kids. He was just being a parent. At some point, either parent will be fully alone and taking care of the kids. I wouldn't trust a random sitter with my infant either. Honey, young twins will exhaust you, especially since this is the first time in so many months. It seems like your husband's been alone with the babies, and it's been nonstop for you. 2 days and he wanted help. And it's apparent he got angry instead of realizing what you go through every darn day. You are the idiot. Your husband is currently lying down in a dark room, covering his ears for all appearances, suffering a migraine. That's a bit more than a headache. That's a debilitating level of pain. And you say LOL to that? Do you even know how bad those are? Especially if they lasted 2 days. You then also admitted he did a good job. The house was tidy, etc. I have to ask, why do you hate your husband? Why did you marry and procreate with someone who you seem to derive such pleasure in having to prove yourself better than? He's right. You have certainly shown him a side of your personality that is quite frankly disgusting. You would rather compete than support, and he won't forget that. In your bizarre efforts to show him how good you are, I think you just created your own countdown. I'm surprised by the amount of people saying, "You go, girl," instead of showing empathy for the husband. He wanted to help, but it's causing him headaches and pain. This lady, his loving wife, is having a great time with her mom, insisting on him suffering for 2 more days. Then she went home and said, "I told you so?" What kind of human being is this? He's your husband, who you claim to love. He was in pain. Instead of showing love, you insist on having your own way. Shame on you. You might have caused permanent damage to this relationship. So I live with my wife, and we have a blended family. My stepkids are usually with us, although right now they're with their dad for Father's Day weekend. He called me yesterday and said he wanted to discuss something the kids had told him. He said that they told him that my son, from my prior relationship, has his boyfriend over all the time. He said it makes him uncomfortable that his kids are spending so much time around this older boy he doesn't know. To make a long story short, our disagreement ended with me telling him that he's not a member of my household and that his opinion doesn't matter. When his kids are with him, he makes the decisions. When they're with my wife, she does. He doesn't always get a say over what happens with his kids. I said, not in my house. He said I was an idiot and he was going to take my wife back to court. I asked him if he'd start using all his custody days before asking for more, because that might give him better odds. He told me to go screw myself. My wife is upset with me because antagonizing her ex complicates her life. I do feel bad for making things more difficult for my wife, but I also feel like this guy needed a reality check. Am I the idiot for how I spoke to him? Your stepkid's dad specifically called you out of the blue to let you know that he has a problem with you letting your son have his boyfriend over at your house, and your wife thinks that you're the one antagonizing him? And further, he threatens to take your wife to court so he can take the kids away from both of you, but he doesn't even bother to pick them up on the actual custody days that he already has. So basically, he's using his own children as pawns in whatever power game he's trying to play here regarding dictating who your son is allowed to associate with. Not the idiot at all. Good for you for standing up to that clown. I don't think this is an older friend of your son's problem. I think this is a stepdad who might be a phobic idiot problem. It's none of his business what your son does. Since he said he was going to take your wife to court, believe him and act appropriately. Probably a good idea to not communicate verbally with him anymore, since he'll most likely try to use anything you say to support his case. Don't engage further. But OP's wife has to find a way to work with this idiot for the next several years. If the stepkids were all 18 plus and the ex had zero power, then yeah, tell him to take a long walk off of a short pier. But until that point, the OP needs to let his wife take point on those discussions, since she and her kids will have to deal with any consequences of OP's actions. This is not to say that OP should kick his son's boyfriend out of the house. However, he can and should direct the ex to the wife, or better yet, their lawyer, every single time. There's a way to stand his ground without making things worse. My husband, 29 male, and I, 29 female, got married a few months ago. It all went perfectly, and I couldn't have asked for a better man to marry. To capture the day, we hired one of my university friends as a photographer, since he does it as a side gig, and he offered it as a wedding present for us. This issue concerns my younger brother, John. There's one slightly blurry photo where he's having a nap on a chair in the background of the photo of me, while me and my older brother, Tom, dance in front. It looks exactly like a photo I had when we were younger and at someone else's wedding, but we're all kids. When my friend showed me the photo and asked if I wanted it deleted because he didn't notice John asleep in it, I asked him to keep it, but put it in a separate folder, so it's not in the link everyone else gets to view the photos. Only me and my husband have a copy. He thinks it's cute that the two photos are the same also. Currently, that photo hangs in the living room next to the one where we're kids, a side-by-side comparison. It makes me smile whenever I see them, because I barely have any photos of both my brothers. Sure, I have big family ones, but none with just them, especially on a day that's so sentimental to me. They're also not the biggest photos on my wall and in the corner. Your eye isn't immediately drawn to them when you look at our main wall. I didn't think keeping this photo was a huge deal. No one else has it, and John isn't embarrassed about having narcolepsy at all. However, when he stopped by and saw it hung both of the photos up in the living room, he got annoyed with me and tried to take them down. We talked about it briefly, but ultimately, I left it up there because they remind me of cute moments and having a good time with my brothers on my wedding day. I also hate staged photos and think unexpected moments captured on a camera look nicer anyway. Was I an idiot for this? Should I take it down? Our mom wants me to take down the photo to keep my brother happy, but I really don't want to. Not the idiot. Enjoy the photo, but hang it somewhere else, since it bothers him so much. We don't always know why some family members are sensitive to things that the rest find funny. For him, it stirs up something other than a sweet sentimental memory. Pick out your second favorite wedding photo and display that one, and maybe someday your brother will explain why it bothers him, and you can have a nice bonding moment over it. Because he has narcolepsy, which OP claims he isn't embarrassed by, but he obviously is if he's asking her to take down a photo of him falling asleep, which she thinks is good times and cute memories. You are the idiot, OP. This is a big difference. Your brother may not want his medical condition displayed as a conversation starter in your living room or a cute annotation to your decor. Her husband isn't even in it. It's her dancing with her other brother. It's not the bride and groom photo. A bit more empathy could go a long way. Also, I could imagine brother feeling bad that the sweet, candid moment with both OP's brothers consists of him sleeping while his other two siblings are having fun together. OP, stop pretending you actually care about your brother and having good times with him when he obviously hated this experience of falling asleep.